Next on Currents News, a statue of St. Francis Xavier Cabrini will be standing tall along Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. I'm Tim Harfman, and I'll explain why.
Panicked Syrian Christians are fleeing for their lives. The war with Turkey is intensifying tonight. We have a new development about that suspect accused of destroying a Queen's shrine dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Plus, new auxiliary bishops are coming to the Archdiocese of New York. Pope Francis appointing them this morning. It's time for Currents News. Good evening, I'm Tamara Lane. We begin tonight with breaking news. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio has completed his first trip to the troubled Diocese of Buffalo. The Vatican appointed him to conduct an investigation there. The bishop visited Buffalo and interviewed more than 30 individuals. He's also inviting the laity, clergy, and others to be part of the process so that he has information from several perspectives. The current Buffalo Bishop, Richard Malone, faces accusations of mishandling sexual abuse allegations involving priests. He's expressed heartfelt gratitude to the bishop for accepting the Holy See's mission. Upon completion of the visitation, Bishop DiMarzio will submit a report to the Congregation of Bishops at the Vatican. Now for tonight's other big story. The campaign to celebrate Mother Cabrini is getting stronger by the hour. The Brooklyn Diocese is on a mission to reclaim the city streets the saint once walked on. And this time they're going to march up Fifth Avenue. The patroness of immigrants is going to be part of the Diocese Columbus Day float. Currents News' Tim Harfman has the story.
The Diocese of Brooklyn's Columbus Day float will have a new look this year. The highlight, a statue of Mother Cabrini. The patroness of immigrants is beloved throughout the diocese, but the city refused to build her a statue, even though she won a citywide poll in a landslide.
We need to recognize her. People are asking for her to be recognized, and how could we ignore them?
Catholics like John Heyer are outraged about City Hall turning its back on Mother Cabrini, who did so much in building the Big Apple, serving its growing immigrant population.
We think her story emulates what it means to be an Italian American. She was a U.S. citizen who immigrated here from Italy and did so much to help others, especially the immigrants.
Heyer is helping to design the float, which includes this 5-foot statue in front of a replica of this mural. He's part of the Diocese of Brooklyn's drive to ensure the voices of hundreds of New Yorkers are heard. After all, they nominated Mother Cabrini.
Each one of those nominations represented someone voicing their opinion. For those opinions then to not be recognized, is disheartening.
Currents News reached out to City Hall again today, asking if they're going to reconsider the decision to snub the saint. The response, they'll consider her in the future. Ave Maria, piena di grazia. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is at the forefront of the growing campaign supporting Mother Cabrini. He led over 1,000 people in a march and mass to rally around her Sunday.
She was a woman of courage and bucked a lot of systems to do what she had to do. We think that she certainly deserves to have a statue here. If we're doing other women, we should have her too.
I think it's a disgrace that a person so great is not being recognized. Yeah, she did so much.
Now the Brooklyn Diocese is honoring Mother Cabrini in a new way, marching up Fifth Avenue on Columbus Day with the saint on display. Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Bishop DiMarzio is spearheading a drive to erect a statue of Mother Cabrini. He's encouraging Catholics in the diocese to voluntarily pitch in to build the new monument, hopefully in front of Borough Hall. Contributions are being accepted through the Catholic Foundation for Brooklyn and Queens at cfbq.org/Cabrini statue. New auxiliary bishops are coming to the Archdiocese of New York. The Vatican released the news this morning, and Cardinal Timothy Dolan introduced them on Twitter.
Pope Francis gave us 2 new auxiliary bishops. You know what auxiliary bishops are. These are the bishops that help the Archbishop in his shepherding of the diocese, just like the pastor of the parish will have associate pastors. As the pastor of the Archdiocese, I get to get associate bishops. And Monsignor Ed Whalen and Monsignor Jerry Colachico have been appointed today, and I praise God for the gift that they are.
At the same time, the Holy Father accepted the resignation of New York Auxiliary Bishop John Jenick, who's facing an allegation of sexual misconduct, which he denies. Turkey's military invasion of Syria is intensifying tonight. Forces on the ground are advancing, and bombing runs now number in the hundreds. Heavy smoke rises over the northern Syrian skyline. The Turkish offensive is targeting Kurdish militias who were allied with the United States in wiping out ISIS. The escalation is causing widespread panic among Christian communities caught up in the aerial bombardments. Church leaders worry the fighting will reduce the already dwindling Christian population even more. Thousands of civilians are racing to get out of northern Syria. World leaders are warning that the invasion could spark a new humanitarian crisis. Clarissa Ward watched as roads flooded with cars carrying families desperate to get away.
We're here on the road out of the town of Ras Al Ain, and as you can see, it is a chaotic situation. The streets, roads just choked full of cars filled with families desperate to get out of here. None of them understanding exactly what is going on, what has happened, what the intention of this Turkish military strikes are. We saw at least 6 big plumes of black smoke with our own eyes, at least one building that appeared to be on fire. And these people are now fleeing to try to get to safety, but they don't know exactly where safety might be. And let's just take a talk and chat to these people quickly. Assalamu alaikum, marhaba, kifkun, min wankun? Hey, ana asifi, akid. Khaifin, yani, are you afraid? They're saying that they're frightened for the children, and you can imagine why. Look at the sky, it's thick with black smoke. There have been strikes for the last couple of hours. كم انفجارات كان؟ كتير. So they're saying there were many different explosions. من القصف ومن الطيارة؟ من القصف. She's saying there were many explosions. It was coming from shelling, artillery. They're now trying to get out. بتعرفي وين تروحي هلا؟ And they don't know where they're going or where they might be able to sleep tonight.
According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, in just one day, more than 60,000 people have fled the Kurdish-held territory. Tonight, German cops are saying only one man was behind the Yom Kippur attack on a synagogue, and they've captured him. The authorities have also discovered a hate-filled manifesto where the suspect allegedly wrote he was hoping to kill as many Jews as possible. The attacker, who live-streamed the violence, tried to break into the building in the city of Halle, but was stopped by police. He then shot to death 2 people outside the synagogue. Yom Kippur is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. While the Pope's historic summit on the Amazon did its business today behind closed doors, we have an answer about a mysterious wooden figure that's caused a bit of controversy and a lot of questions. Melissa Butts reports from Rome.
1 week ago, before the Synod even began, a mysterious wooden pregnant figure brought to the Vatican by the indigenous had already become the source of many questions. Amongst feather headdresses, candles, and dancing, a particular figure of a woman stood out as a centerpiece during a tree planting ceremony inside the Vatican on the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi, October 4th. The wooden statue of the pregnant young woman was presented to Pope Francis by the 20 indigenous populations who are in Rome for the Synod. It was seen again on Monday, the first day of the Synod inside St. Peter's Basilica. Now, the feminine figure can be found on display at an exhibition in a church nearby the Vatican, Santa Maria in Trespontina. The exhibition's organizer, a missionary priest for indigenous people in Peru, assured this image is very symbolic to indigenous Catholics in the Amazon.
They carved in wood an image of a Blessed Mother who is pregnant. She is the Virgin, and we have called her Our Lady of the Amazon. She represents the Amazon because what is the Amazon? The Amazon is a woman. She is female. She has a female face. Why? Because the earth is mother. The earth gives life. So that is the Amazon.
He said the figure's symbolism represents the fact that the Amazon unites countries, peoples, and cultures. It cares for the people and provides everything from modes of transportation to the food they eat. Yet he says through exhibitions like this, the indigenous hope to teach the importance of the Amazon, a source of drinking water and a natural filter for harmful carbon dioxide output. Its benefits aren't only for the people in those regions, but rather for the world at large. Throughout the month of October, there are around 247 exhibitions put on by 60 organizations who are supporting the rights of indigenous people in the Amazon. Their mission to bring the traditions to those who do not know them. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
Here in the U.S., a new twist in the battle over impeachment. Two men with ties to Rudy Giuliani are under arrest tonight on campaign finance charges. But Lev Parnas and Igor Furman are also reportedly important witnesses in the impeachment inquiry. They allegedly helped fund Giuliani's efforts to get the Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. Giuliani is President Trump's personal lawyer, and he's calling the arrest extremely suspicious. He did admit the pair helped him, quote, logistically in the investigation of the Bidens. There's another big clash brewing on Capitol Hill over a major pro-life issue using the cells of unborn babies for research. The new ban from the Trump administration is blocking human tissue use at federal agencies. At the same time, some scientists are arguing for more taxpayer money to keep their research going. Most of the cells they use come from unborn children who have been aborted. Still to come in this newscast, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, examines stem cell research from the Catholic perspective. Where does the church draw the line? That's still ahead in this newscast. An update now on that church vandalism case that caused so much damage to St. Gerard Majella in Hollis, Queens. A 69-year-old woman had been accused of destroying a shrine to the Blessed Virgin Mary and causing other damage in a string of attacks. Now the Queens District Attorney has determined she's unfit for trial. She's been civilly committed to a hospital. There's a lot more news headed your way. Social Security benefits are changing. We'll give you all the details. Top U.S. bishops confront the damage to society that comes from the death penalty. And a very special moment in a Queens Catholic Academy classroom will show you all that happened. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. There's a lot of people in California who don't have power tonight, and they're in the dark on purpose. The state's biggest utility taking the step to prevent wildfires. John Lawrence has the latest.
Pacific Gas and Electric getting static after shutting down power for 750,000 people in California.
I'm angry at PG&E, and most of my friends are angry as well.
Among the affected areas, Santa Clara County, where a local state of emergency is declared.
If you live in any affected area, stay at home as much as possible during this power shutoff.
Forecasters say the state's extreme wind and dry vegetation make it vulnerable for a wildfire. PG&E hopes this outage will prevent another one from starting. The utility has agreed to pay billions of dollars for last year's fatal campfire because its equipment was linked to the blaze.
If it wasn't for, I guess, a lack of PG&E doing their job in the first place, this probably wouldn't be necessary.
Some residents venting their frustration.
No one's happy to see their power cut off, so no one is satisfied, no one's pleased.
A PG&E truck was struck by a bullet Tuesday, and a customer service center was egged Wednesday. No injuries were reported. PG&E officials said the company understood the stressful impact of its shutdown and was working as fast as it could.
Those are the types of incidents that really cause us concern.
Once the weather conditions improve, the company says it'll inspect its equipment before bringing the power back. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Today is World Day Against the Death Penalty, and Catholic bishops around the country are speaking out. At a roundtable this morning, Washington's Archbishop Wilton Gregory said executions damage all of society.
It makes us violent to do violence against another human being. whether a human being waiting to be born, a human being who has reached the end of a life because of a disease, even an individual who has created or committed a serious crime belongs to God's creation as a human being.
Archbishop Gregory was joined by Oklahoma Archbishop Paul Coakley and Florida Bishop Frank Dwayne. Last summer, Pope Francis updated Catholic Catechism to declare the death penalty inadmissible under any circumstances. More now on the stem cell clash on Capitol Hill. The Trump administration is barring the use of human tissue for research, while some scientists are trying to push ahead. The Catholic Church is strongly opposed to using cells of unborn babies for science. They argue there's a better way. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, joins us now to talk more about that. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be back with you, Tamara.
So you've studied this field for a decade. What is the better way?
Well, look, the Church has constantly said, as these stem cell debates have carried on for the past 2 decades, that look, the most effective means of going about stem cell research is that of using adult stem cells because they're more mature and they have proven more effective for all sorts of therapies.
Okay, well now the Church also doesn't oppose all forms of stem cell research. They actually support umbilical cord research. Can you explain, where do Catholics draw the line?
Well, so the real question is sort of what's at stake in this research. And in the early 2000s, much of the debate centered around that of embryonic stem cell research, which would have required the destruction of a human embryo, which the Catholic Church is, strongly opposed to as a destruction of human life. Now, umbilical cord stem cells, it comes from the blood when, babies are first born. It's very rich with stem cells. And using that for all sorts of therapies does not actually require any destruction of human life and has proven just as effective.
Many parents are actually saving those as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So now this isn't a new endorsement by the Church. They actually came out with teachings about this years ago. About how long has it been out? So
the first sort of comprehensive bioethical guidelines from the Church came down in 1987. Now technology moves very rapidly on these things, and so in 2008 the Church issued a more comprehensive document, sort of instructions on how to navigate these technologies as Catholics. But as these debates were heating up in the early 2000s, the Church made it very clear that they supported umbilical stem cell research.
Well, why do you think people are not acknowledging that?
Well, I think there's this narrative often that, the Church is anti-science, and I think most people don't take the time to parse out what's, at stake here, the difference between adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells, and I think that's where the question and ambiguity has often come into play.
I want to dig a little bit more into that. So back in 2001, the Church was viewed as being anti-science for opposing embryonic cell research. Here we are nearly 2 decades later. What's the verdict now?
Yeah, I think the Church has been vindicated because these technologies have proven just as, or if not more effective.
Christopher White, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, thanks so much for being with us.
A pleasure, Tamara.
Seniors and other Americans receiving Social Security are about to see a bump in their benefits come next year. The Social Security Administration announced today that next year's cost of living adjustment will be 1.6%. That's good news for retirees, though this is a modest number compared with last year's increase. The average retiree will get $24 more each month. Now to news out of Missouri. Pro-lifers there are taking a stand as the new Planned Parenthood mega clinic is set to open its doors. The facility will become one of the biggest clinics in the country, built in secret because Planned Parenthood feared a pro-life pushback. Now advocates for the unborn are making their voices heard.
So Planned Parenthood built this mega facility in secret because they didn't want us here. So guess who's here today and won't be leaving until this facility closes?
Planned Parenthood expects to begin taking patients later this month. Stay with us for stories you'll only find on Currents News. A heroic Polish cardinal is a big feature in the latest tablet. Editor-in-Chief Jorge Dominguez is moments away with more about the uncrowned king of Poland. And what happened in a Queen's Catholic Academy classroom, you don't want to miss it. You'll want to pick up the tablet this week. Inside, stories that can only be found in our newspaper. A Polish cardinal who fought the Nazis is on the path to sainthood. More on Mother Cabrini, and Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio writes about respecting life. Editor-in-Chief Jorge Dominguez joins us now. Jorge, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tamara.
Okay, so he is known as the Uncrowned King of Poland. Tell us about the heroic cardinal and what he means to Polish Catholics.
Well, Cardinal Stefan Wyszynski, he was the Archbishop of Warsaw from 1948 to 1981. And you know, today, maybe a lot of people don't know him, and everybody knows John Paul II, right? But when John Paul II was elected Pope in 1978, people were saying, who? The Polish Cardinal? Oh, Wyszynski. No, it was not Wyszynski, the other guy. At that time, John Paul II was the other guy. The central figure of the church in Poland was Cardinal Wyszynski. He was an heroic man. He fought the Nazis. He challenged the communists. For his whole adult life, he was persecuted by the government of Poland. So it is a fascinating figure, and we should know more about him. Now he's going to be beatified. You got all the details in the tablet.
It sounds like an incredible article packed full of action as well.
Yes.
So let's turn to the centerfold, which is also filled with news about Mother Cabrini. It also includes a letter from New York City's First Lady. So what can we expect to read in that?
Well, you will see all the pictures from the march last Sunday about asking for a statue for Mother Cabrini, but also a letter that the First Lady of New York City wrote explaining why Mother Cabrini was not included among the first honorees. It is not it's very nice, it's very polite, but it's not convincing, and we wanted our readers to read that.
Let's turn now to Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio's column, and he's writing about respecting life. What is his message?
Well, the message is always the same, but the way he put the message this way is very interesting, because he compares life to a football game. And he says that human life has 4 quarters, and that we have to be respectful of human life in each of those 4 quarters. And he explained, the comparison and why. It is a very interesting take into the respect of life theme.
Jorge Dominguez, Editor-in-Chief of The Tablet, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The Tablet needs your support to ensure that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. You can do so by subscribing to The Tablet so that it comes right to your mailbox. You'll save up to 55% by having it delivered to your home versus paying for it at church. Go to the website thetablet.org/home55 or call 877-883-8356. And please check out one of the latest features in the tablet, the Our Diocesan Family page. That's where you can send in photos of your family receiving certain sacraments, such as baptism, First Communion, confirmation, and marriage. For more information and submit your pictures, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Finally tonight, a heartfelt reunion between a father and a daughter, months in the making. That is Commander Cornelius Murray surprising his daughter, Holly, at St. Francis de Sales Catholic Academy in Belle Harbor, Queens. He was in Afghanistan for 8 months. Holly wasn't sure when he would be home. Near the end of the school day, her father snuck into class and took his daughter home to spend his first day back together. Commander Murray is expected to stay with his family for the next few months. Isn't that nice?
It is incredible and beautiful.
Well, that is Currents News. I'm Tamara Lane. Thanks for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.